Hello everyone and welcome to the fourth webisode of Passionate Marketers. Today our topic is sales and marketing and I'm your host Gaurav Mendiratta. Let me start with introducing the experts we have. Today we have two marketing experts and two sales experts so that both sides are represented equally. But I'll start with the lady on the panel, Roberta Hess. Roberta has over 20 years of experience in the marketing domain with a strong focus on financial services. She has had senior leadership roles at companies like MetLife, Prudential, and most recently at Ascensus. Next we have Arijit Banerjee. Arijit also comes from the marketing domain with over 15 years of experience, but a lot of experience on the creative side. Arijit now runs Consumer 51, a digital marketing agency. On the sales side, we have Scott Messer, who's a sales coach with 20 years plus experience, one of the most well-known sales coaches in the Philadelphia area. Welcome, Scott. And finally, we have David with over 20 years of enterprise sales experience, building and scaling sales teams and running over $200 million in sales revenues. Thank you, David. Thanks for me.
Thank you.
Let's start with, where are the gaps today? What is not working well on the sales side and the marketing side when they come together? Roberta, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I would say that sales and marketing need to work like hand in glove. And whenever there's challenges, it's usually because the teams aren't working seamlessly together. It may be because of a cultural issue, it may be a lack of understanding of each other's roles, it may be that there hasn't been an investment in the technology or the customer infrastructure to enable a fluid relationship. But that relationship and that trust and mutual understanding is the foundation of it all.
Thank you. So if I have to rephrase it, it's people and technology I think you're pointing out. Arijit, do you want to cover anything else which might add to this?
Absolutely. Just working with Consumer 51, I look at it from the consumer's perspective all the time. So what a consumer cares about is for sales and marketing to be on the same page. Consumers don't have any patience for slips in communication, technology not working. If I got an email from a marketing team that said, we would love to talk to you, and I call the number and the salesperson says, hey, I'm busy now, can I call you back tomorrow? Just that right there is a breakdown in the process. So communication, I think, is the most important thing that sales and marketing teams should work together and try to build on that, common foundation.
That's a great point. So we got processes, we got technology, and we got communication as a challenge from the marketing side. The sales experts, what do you guys think? What is not working well today?
Well, actually, I agree with my marketing brethren that those are some of the big challenges. I think one of the other things that it's just interesting to observe, it's tenure. If you actually look at the tenure of a salesperson or the tenure of a marketing person, give them 18 months and 60% of them have already turned over. So where do you drive that subject matter expertise? How do you actually understand the business that you're marketing or selling if you have on average 18 months worth of experience within that business? So it is a people issue and it is a process issue, but at the end of the day it's also a qualification issue on both sides. It's really, really tough to find great marketing people, it's really tough to find great salespeople. And the reality is that what you'll see is great salespeople tend to be in place for a long period of time because they actually have a proven record of success. And if you end up being in a situation like myself, where we're in an enterprise sales role, it takes you 9 months to a year just to land business. So seeing somebody with a year's worth of experience in an enterprise sales role, that's like they just started yesterday. So part of the real challenge is to understand not just the people, the process, and the technology, but it's also to understand whether or not you actually have qualified individuals on both sides that are actually going to drive results. So that's one of the biggest challenges, I think. And it's probably a shared challenge, but at the end of the day, it is a challenge for both sides.
That's a great point. So qualification adds to the list. Scott, what do you think? Do you want to add something to this list?
I will add this, that, as Roberta said so well, it's one tent. It's not silos. But every organization, and again, coming from the sales side, I do have a bias, that everybody works for the sales team. Nothing happens unless something gets sold. And I find so many organizations, for example, buy a CRM that is really designed for marketing, or it's a CRM that got thrown into an accounting software package, or who's running the company? The engineers, the accounting department, the marketing department? I mean, isn't it all about sales?
Yeah.
And I see that as a big problem in a lot of companies.
So Scott, I think you've changed the lens here and made sales teams the center of everything.
I knew there was a reason I liked it.
Everyone else is overhead. I mean, come on.
And I mean, I can't deny that point or agree to it being a moderator, but I agree that sales teams are critical, like marketing teams,
Sure.
In driving things. And I think some efforts have been made to bring these two teams together. And account-based marketing is one such effort, especially in enterprise sales. So I would love to hear some views on what is account-based marketing, how is it helping both teams, is it adding or creating work for you guys, or it is bringing you guys better or close together, working together? So, David, you want to go first?
Sure. I mean, from our point of view, it's because of the enterprise sales cycle, and particularly given some of the, it really does depend on the industry that you're in. From a maturity standpoint, if you have a mature business with sort of known players, known prospects in that market, account-based marketing is somewhat easier, right? Because to a certain extent there are certain cycles, whether it's an RFP cycle or certain cycles along those lines, which you can easily and readily identify. So in our environment, we talk about pursuit marketing quite a bit, which is really identifying named accounts or named prospect accounts that we want to go after and invest behind for a long cycle. And that's where the marketing team and the sales team has to be completely aligned, both in terms of identifying the prospects to go after, and then really making sure that the salesperson actually understands the account that you're going after, because by knowing and understanding the relationships that live within the account, you can then make sure that your messaging is more relevant to the account that you're targeting. In an enterprise role, it isn't about an account, it's about the people within the organization, it's about those relationships. And understanding the dynamics within an account. That's not something that today there are great technologies or great marketing tools to really understand those dynamics. It requires a subject matter expert in the salesperson who may have some experience with that account to help lead marketing and then align with marketing to bring together the right messages over the course of a period of time. So there may be certain key cycles for messaging and for marketing activity, but in order to make sure that that resonates, it's going to require sales and marketing to work very closely and hand in hand to really drive a very bespoke solution for an enterprise level client.
Got it. So the 2 points which I got out of what you just shared was that given that the enterprise sales cycle is so long and there are so many people or stakeholders to be influenced, the way ABM or account-based marketing is helping is that the sales guys identify the people to go after who are the right stakeholders, and the marketing teams help you with the right communication. And even though there are some marketing tools, you feel that on the technology side there is still a gap which can be fulfilled from marketing side?
I think part of where the tools come in is in the cadence, okay. Right? Mm-hmm. It's being able to identify whether or not those stakeholders within that organization have responded to certain messaging. So if they've responded to a certain message in a certain type of way, then the tools can identify what is the next best opportunity for the right touch point into that stakeholder, right? Mm-hmm. But if they don't respond to that message, well, maybe there's another message that makes sense. So you get at least some visibility into how your messages are translating within that organization in a more sort of systematic way, and in a way that you can actually then change and tweak the messaging to see whether or not there's some responsiveness on the other side.
Got it.
I would just say that I think Scott mentioned CRM. So we use multiple tools on the marketing side to help with account-based marketing. It kind of goes back to the point you were making about, why do people buy? They buy from someone because they trust them. And when you look at account-based marketing, it's like, you have 5 people sitting at the table, and, if it's important to remind the people that there is some, they're together, they're part of one account, to say, hey, you know what? You trusted Scott with this part of your business, and to remind them that, you did place that trust, you had some expectations. Now we're delivering against those expectations. Would you consider moving this part of your business to us? So, it allows us to really understand, who we are talking to, what the relationship is with us, and then how do we advance that relationship and take it to the next level, because it's a give and take, right? They have made a hire and we're delivering, and then let's go back and keep reminding. And I think that's where that sales and marketing working together. You need 2 good dance partners to really make it work.
So yeah.
And I would say one other thing to add to that is that there's tools like predictive analytics where you can look at customer behavior and identify some key behaviors that can help your sales team understand, maybe when a client is at risk, or when it would be a good time to get in and talk about repricing an account. So using predictive analytics, you can really start to analyze that behavior and help drive and support sales.
Interesting. Predictive analytics is definitely a very interesting point, and it's a good segue to the next question I had, which is around technology. Is the technology today helping you guys work together, or they're just trying to solve problems which are not even related to what you guys do?
I'll say from my perspective, and I'm not as much on the enterprise side as some others, but I am, I find that there's too much trying to find the easy way, dealing on blast, and not enough research, and it's just not helping, in my opinion. People are buying for their reasons, and it's responsibility of the salespeople to work with marketing to pass on what those drivers for the buying influences are, so that they can put good programs and good material together that are relevant, particularly in the enterprise.
The studies that I've seen is on the B2B side is 75% of the buyer's decision is already made before they ever talk to a salesperson, right? So I've seen 60, I've seen 75. You pick the number. What it says is that where marketing's value really resides from a sales point of view is creating that relationship before I ever speak to that prospect. If I can have a deeper conversation, build a relationship quicker, and actually drive the right conversation, and I can become more of a solution-oriented enterprise sales manager versus being basically a product manager, saying here's the features, here's the functionality. If technology can do that, which it can, get me to that conversation, it's a strong enabler for the conversation. But today, it doesn't give me a competitive advantage. It just gives me parity. If I don't have that, I'm playing catch up. If I do have that, I'm just where everybody else is. So there's still a tremendous amount of sales skill required. It's just that you're a little bit further and more advanced in the sales cycle by the time you actually talk to the customer or the prospect.
So I'm a little bit conflicted. You just said that 60 to 75% of the work is being done by the leads, by looking up the company, checking out their reviews, seeing their communication, which the marketing team makes.
Yeah, I actually, so no, to me, absolutely, but it's beyond just looking up a website or communication. It's having the right library of content that is specific to the needs of that prospect, delivered at the right time when they're in the market looking for a solution to their problem.
Right.
Okay.
So if you can bring that all together, absolutely. There's a much stronger reliance on marketing today than there, in my opinion, than there was in the past, because now marketing actually has tools to be involved in the sales process.
Right.
When I first started out in business, marketing was brand and it was retail. And
sales support.
And sales support, yes.
Collateral material.
Right,
Gotta
exactly.
gotta have your leave behinds.
So the emergence of new technologies for us is relatively new, but it's a huge enabler, but it raises the game for the salespeople. It raises the game for marketing, because marketing now can't really say, well, I don't know which 50% of the money I spend is wasted, but 50% is. Well,
Right.
good luck saying that
Yeah.
now, right?
Right.
That's why you're only around for 18 months if you say that. So you know, I love the fact that the marketing brethren are at the table. I love the fact that there are tools. I know it means that my salespeople have to be better at what they do. And I think technology is an enabler, but it isn't a competitive advantage. It's just a competitive requirement in order to have parity with my other competitive, with the other competitors in the marketplace.
Got it.
And technology is also a disruptor from every direction, particularly as you think about customer expectations. The customer expectations of what they demand and expect from companies now, not only from sales, but from service and from their entire experience, has been really changed and will continue to be changed by technology. So that provides a challenge for the salespeople to be at their game always, for marketing, and back to your earlier point about people and what people need to learn and the talent development that is necessary now to keep up with the pace of technology and really capitalize on it.
Got it. Arijit, would you like to add anything on the technology front?
Yeah, I think technology helps us, understand what is working. So to your point of performance marketing, and there's, back in the day you had all the non-performance marketing, or things you can measure. You have to work on brand. I think some of that is still there, but you have performance marketing and now performance sales. So we are a HubSpot agency. We use HubSpot for a lot of things, and I look at the sales side of HubSpot just as from a leadership perspective, and I can see, okay, how many new contacts did we create, how many new contacts were assigned, how many emails did we send out, how many meetings, and whenever I see green arrows, surprise, surprise, our sales number are always up. Maybe there's some correlation between those behaviors and that technology, but I think it's that ability to track things that was probably not there 20 years ago. You didn't know, I had a call, I had a meeting. There wasn't that organizational knowledge. Now, we can all see, salespeople can see what's going on with this email. Oh, that headline didn't really work, and this headline worked better, so let's do this. So there's that transparency and accountability, I think, that technology is bringing, pushing the teams to work better together.
The other thing I would mention about technology is the technology is basically, I enjoy Formula One, right? That's the sport I watch. I would not think about getting in a Ferrari and trying to beat, Vettel around the track. Yet we will put the same tools into the hands of different marketers and expect them to perform at the same level. And the reality is that the technology is very, very robust. Sometimes the marketers are not as robust as the technology that they are given. So technology in and of itself, I never know if it's really performing well, because I don't know who the driver of the technology is and whether or not they have the skill set to actually get the most out of the technology. And oftentimes I find the technology supersedes the ability of the marketer to be on top of the tools.
It's all about the driver. I think it's
all
really
about the driver.
all about who's at the wheel. So,
Right.
yeah.
Got it. So if I were to sum up the answers to this question, the technology can help a lot. It can influence 60%, 75% of the sales cycle, of course, married with communication. Customers want it, right? And customers do see their benefit, other than the remarketing stuff and ads following you around, right? And it can only be effective if it is in the hands of the right people. So people and technology we covered, and that brings me to my next point, which is processes. And especially when in enterprise sales, when you're working in a large team, and there's a large team on the sales side, there's a large team on the marketing side, multiple stakeholders, and things which could be done in 3 months can take up to a year. What are some of these processes which work well? What are some of these processes which actually create roadblocks? Can you guys talk a little bit about those? Yeah.
Well, this is a process from the sales side. And David, I'll ask you, if you gave all of your salespeople a blank piece of paper and asked them to write down the company's sales process, could they do it? And I know everybody laughs at that one, right? Except the CEOs who hopefully are watching going, oh my God, that's why we're getting killed out there.
I'm only smiling on the outside.
But there you go. And we wouldn't use, and again, it's not that I'm pounding the table for my stuff. I'm just telling you, I've been doing this for 20 years, and I go into some highly successful companies. It's not that you can't be successful, but boy, how much easier would it be if there was a common sales process? For the sake of time, I'll just leave it there. How do you manage 10 sales reps doing it 10 different ways? It's hard.
Yeah, I think it depends on the size and the scale of the organization, right?
Right.
So I've worked for small companies, I've worked for very large companies, global in scope. Business is transformative. What happens in the US does not necessarily translate well to France or other parts of the world. So to have a single process, I understand why it's challenging. What we do try and do, what is, you have to have somebody who is held accountable. At the end of the day, in some of the large organizations, while there may not be, and there is a formal process, but while it may not always be understood or while certain components are moving, you must have someone on the sales side who is absolutely accountable for the success of the win, right?
Yes.
Or the loss. And when you establish that role and responsibility, everybody else has to fall in line behind it. So decide who it's going to be. Generally, it should be the salesperson because they're held accountable for it. And let them essentially be the quarterback of the deal. Because if you have everybody on the field that's a quarterback, then you will have no ability to win the game because everybody will be trying to throw. Nobody wants to catch. Nobody wants to block.
Nobody knows
right?
the account better than the salesperson.
Or should.
Completely agree.
Or should, right?
Yes.
So it's up to them ultimately to figure it out in an environment that is absolutely imperfect. And I fully agree with you. It's a big challenge.
Your pains that, okay, sales processes in itself need more clarity and
Sure.
more crystallization. But coming to the marketing side, Roberta, do you have a point?
Well, I would say one thing is very much in common. There has to be accountability, and it starts there. And when you look into the various disciplines in marketing, there's repeatable processes and best practices for almost every discipline within marketing. And I think it's incumbent upon marketers to always, on a regular basis, look at their processes and make sure that they're up to date, they're still efficient, and they're delivering the results that you would expect to support sales and to grow your company and your business. So I think that you need process, and you need process as part of training your marketers, right? So everybody isn't just staring at a blank piece of paper saying, how do we get things done here? So.
Well, one thing I'd like to see more of as part of the cross-process is have the marketers go out with some of the salespeople. That does not happen nearly
Absolutely.
enough.
Absolutely.
And that's why the material that comes out is not necessarily, again, it's equal responsibility.
Yeah.
So are you saying focus groups are not enough?
It's beyond focus groups, because one of the key skills in marketing is empathy. Empathy for the customer, for their experience, empathy for your salespeople and what they're going through. And there is nothing more eye-opening than to spend a day in the life of the salesperson. I know that I have used that experience several times in my career to help me foster stronger relationships with the sales team. And I have invited the sales team in to spend a day with marketing. Okay, help me come up with the story for this new product or product launch. We'd like to hear your opinions. And it's that collaboration that really leads to the best outcome.
That's a great
Yeah, I
point.
agree.
So to sum it up for this question, that what I heard was we need simplified processes and the teams to be on the same page on those. We need to have accountability, and we need both the teams to work together in the sense of understanding the customer and servicing them better as a result. And that brings me to my final question, which is around what is working well today? I mean, we heard a lot of problems, but what is working well today? And I mean, can't we just be doing what is already working well and be happy with that?
A driven CEO would never accept that. It's always process improvement, continuous improvement. There's new things coming out all the time. It's getting more and more difficult to reach the people that you need to talk to, unless you're going in with some sort of trusted relationship to start, or a very compelling message from the marketing team that speaks specifically to the things that move the needle for them. Most of the people that we work with, and I'm sure you as well, are calling at senior levels. And one of the best salespeople I know said something to me once. He was called on a large telecom, whose name everybody would recognize. And he said, if I'm not going in there with something that's worth $20 million or more to him, I'm wasting his time. And so there's got to be an understanding of what that 20, 40, $50 million move the needle thing is.
Absolutely.
And again, marketing can help. Salespeople should know that. And again, putting it together and marketing inside the enterprise, that's where it happens. So more of that.
So more of collaboration, more of working together and moving the needle. Anything else you guys would like to add?
I would like to say, I think sitting down and being accountable for common goals, and also for individual goals. So one of the things that we practice is, how many leads is marketing going to bring? So let's have some accountability and say we're going to drive this much traffic to the website, and we will make sure that so many people fill out this form and convert. So I'm giving the sales team a very good shot of closing those deals. And then from the sales side, there should be some accountability of, okay, once I get the lead, I'm going to follow up within 4 hours, and I'm going to know what the campaign was about. So it's transparency, communication. I think when you see those two things work together, you rarely, you could probably, exchange seats and it'll be fine. Marketing and sales working together. You don't know who's who. So I think that's the best type of, following the process.
There's always going to be new technology.
Right.
And as we discussed earlier, it's all about the driver, and there aren't a lot of good drivers
Absolutely.
now on the old technology, let alone bringing something
Right.
new for them. Again, I'd like to see more, on both sides, more of the human investment,
Yeah.
more training, more skill development, et cetera. Because that's really
Right.
where the results are going to come.
Yeah, and I'd like to add a point to the human side of things, to have that collaboration and then to have a joint celebration. When you win a new client, the salesperson gets that thrill of closing the deal. Make sure your marketers experience that same thrill. Give them that same sense of satisfaction for a job well done or a deal closed.
That's a great point. That's great. Thanks guys for sharing this. Let's bring everything together and sum it up for our viewers. And I would request each one of you to share one takeaway which you believe you took out of this discussion. David, you want to go first?
Oh, I don't want to be put on the spot first. I think the takeaway is that people still make a difference. That it's the quality of and the ability and the knowledge of either the marketer or the salesperson at the end of the day will ultimately win the business. It is certainly in the enterprise world very much a relationship-driven, solution-based, value-add type role, and that really comes from people driving the process, people driving the sales cycle, and so I would say no matter what, it is still a person selling to a person and understanding what makes them tick as a stakeholder within the organization that they represent. And if you can do that, you will be successful. And I hope to goodness that our brethren in marketing, which is the other takeaway, because they are empathetic and they are reaching out, and I do see improvement. And I think the future is bright.
Cool. So strong people, strong relationships. Scott, you want to go next?
Sure, and you're lucky you went first because I think you took all the air out of the room. That's a tough act to follow, absolutely. But along those lines, it's the internal selling with marketing, internal selling with the various constituents and stakeholders inside our own organizations to bring it all together. And it's nice to know that there are people on the other side that really do care and are genuinely committed and interested. They feel like they've got skin in the game, and it's our responsibility to make sure they feel it.
Great.
Yeah, and so to add to that, I would say to the marketers, be sure that you step out of that ivory tower or your marketing lab and you get in the field with your sales team and you have the experience directly and personally, so you really can develop that empathy. And then to the sales side of the house, I would say be sure that you have joint celebrations of a win. A victory for sales is a victory for all marketing and service.
Well, there's an expression, salesperson, when they win business, it's I won the deal. But when they lose, it's we lost. Interesting.
Well put.
I think, based on what you're saying, I think we need to turn that around. We won the deal. I lost it.
Very good.
Excellent. That's a tough one to follow.
I'll give you a high five.
That's great. The debate ending with a high five amongst two opponents.
I feel a lot of love in the room right now.
I think some really good points mentioned. We talked about, do people, before talking to sales, they made up 60% of their mind. But would you have a customer who's 60% there? Or would you have someone who's 100% there, right? So, you need both sides, sales and marketing, to get them to the 100%. And I think that's really the takeaway is, both sides need to work together to get that complete experience.
Yes.
That's great. Thank you, everyone. I took a lot out of it, so I wouldn't say one, but I would like to compartmentalize them in 3 pillars. So people, processes, and technology. So people, I got qualified, strong people. They need to collaborate. They need to celebrate together. We need simpler processes. People need to be on the same page when it comes to processes. And technology needs to be in the right hands. And maybe the technology needs to mature it in that AI runs everything and we don't have to worry about the hands it is in. Great. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Roberta. Thank you, Ari. Thank you, David. Thank you, Scott. And thank you, everyone, for watching this. Stay tuned for our next webinar, next webisode next month. Thank you.